Hello world, and welcome back to yet another video. I think this time we are at episode 8,
if I'm not wrong. Let's change location we are speaking about this. Because it's the first time we change location.
Yes.
It's an amazing location in a hidden gem.
It's our new studio. A new studio. A studio.
It is a studio.
You can say it's a studio.
It is a studio.
It's bigger than a studio. Smaller than a non-studio.
It's a studio. Studio. I think that today's topic is affecting for sure engineers that are working for more than 2 years.
Okay, you have my attention.
So the topic is, first of all, when adapting.
This is adopting this time.
This I will say.
This is adopting.
Question now. If adopting a new technology, when adopting it, and how introducing new technology in the framework in a legacy code.
Oh, this is a very interesting topic. And Android is actually one of the areas that evolution has been incredibly rapid. In many areas, from UI to data layer, we have all the Jetpack components, we have everything that's new. That if you take a look at, let's say 5 years ago, or even worse, 8 or 10 years ago, we're probably talking about a totally different framework.
Correct. Because as you said, I'm thinking that Google is using the developers as beta testers sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
We already talked about Compose. There was a lot of composable that were experimenting. Do you remember, for example, Event Bus?
I do.
Do you remember, for example, Butter Knife?
I try not to.
Everybody was using, so it's like the trend in the life, no?
Let's take a step back, I would say. Since we're going to be focusing on Android, it's more important now to take a moment to talk about software engineering in general, like architecture, software architecture. What makes a good architecture? What does a software architect basically do? So usually we can say that this answer is, it needs to make the decisions that will affect the project the least as time goes on. So should know which is important, what part is important to set concretely now, what part is important to secure behind the interface to make it configurable in the future.
I like this point. For example, we spoke in our first video about the clean architecture. But if you structure your project with a data layer, domain layer, and you want to introduce Compose, at least you just are affected the presentation layer.
Very good point. So it's like a ship, like if you see, I remember with the movie Titanic, when the water was passing in, they said we should close down the gates, or at least to eliminate the damage as soon as possible. So by layering your project, you know that some part of your code base will be secure from change. So in general, this is the job of the architect, to be able to predict those changes. But now going back to Android, what makes it challenging is that we are basically co-working with Google. We are not working in a void. Our Android project basically is using the Android framework. In this Android framework, we are a bit a slave of Google. Sorry. So we're using the Android framework. We are co-partners. If the framework plays nice with us, we can be sure that our decisions can affect ourselves in a positive way. But we cannot predict what Google is doing.
Correct.
So this is the challenge for Android. So we know what a good architect should do, we know the challenges of that in general, and we add the extra complexity in the Android world that the framework itself is something that is out of our control. Let's put some realistic example. We have flows. For example, this affects data, domain, and if you were to switch your logic from callbacks to a reactive paradigm, now you need to make the changes across all your layers.
Probably the domain layer was the last affected, but because, for example, I'm thinking UI has a lot of is being affected a lot for Compose and so on. Data layer, you have JSON, you have retrofit volley. Domain layer should be the only part, but as you said, the flow are touching also that part. So it seems that there is no escape.
Yes, because it's not just a change of framework, but sometimes it's a change of a paradigm, a way of working. Also, when let's put more specifically now to the UI layer, we're talking about MVVM coming after the before popular MVP. So it's like now you have to switch your way of thinking. Now the view, you don't have a direct reference to the view. Now everything again is event based. And this was actually necessary to adopt Compose, because having Compose with an MVP, it's terrible.
When you have this amazing project in Java, when did you decide to put, okay, now we will use Kotlin? Thank you.
That's a good question. And
If, but first of all, if. How did you pick this?
let's say before we pick the decision,
Yeah.
what happens after you pick the decision? Let's say you decide to move. Then how? The good technologies that are here to stay are somehow organically visible to us. It's like when Kotlin appeared, 2016, I think was the first time we heard of Kotlin in the Android world. Nobody was really sold on it yet. But then goes to 2017. Now you start hearing your friends and other companies, we played with Kotlin, we made one feature with Kotlin and it's okay, it works. Then you see that Google is pushing it a lot. You start to get the feeling, at the point it's mature enough to know that there are no major problems, so it's stable. I think this is the time that nobody can avoid it. It's like when it becomes unavoidable. This is the moment for me to adopt a new framework.
Is it too late?
It's never too late, because as we said in the beginning, you can still use technologies of 10 years ago, unless something is deprecated. Let's picture live data. Live data was, among the Android community, considered to be deprecated years ago, when Stateflow was supposedly its replacement. Even today, if you go into the Jetpack website, you see that live data is alive and kicking. It's not deprecated at all, even though we may not use it anymore, but it's still there. So, when the moment comes that the new technology is unavoidable, this is when to put it.
I'm thinking about what you said. In fact, in the conference, there was Java, some Kotlin speech, more Kotlin. At the point, they were all Kotlin. So there was this refresh.
But you made a very good point. I visualized like a graph, like a new technology starts, but it starts going up. Then we have the old technology that's still already up, and then there's a point that they overlap.
Yes.
And then the new technology becomes mainstream, the old one starts being like the old thing. I think the point of overlapping is the point that most people should adopt a new technology. There is no point trying to do it earlier in a professional application. Of course, if you have a pet project, if you're playing around with doing something small, like a small app, yeah, that's a very good opportunity to put everything that's new, a way to experiment. But when you have a production application, maybe you're working at a big company, you should not rush to put something new, because if you could survive without this new technology for so long, then there's no point in a few months of waiting will not hurt you. Aim for stability, not for novelty.
It would be nice, I don't know if it exists, probably it doesn't, but if it exists, it would be very useful to have the overall of the project that are on the Play Store, to know how many are adopting Kotlin, how many are using Compose. It would be nice to have like an overview of how is out there the situation outside of your small niche, because we are in the bubble when we do a project, an index.
Please let us know if you know any place to check these metrics.
In the interview, if they ask you technology.
This is another point on why eventually you should play around with the technology. You should keep up with the new stuff, because at some point it will be required also by interviews, and let's not hide, interviewing is part of our job. But
people working there, not working there anymore.
But we saw what happens with the layoffs that we talked about on episode 3, if I'm not mistaken. It's in your best interest to always be battle ready, always be ready to go into an interview and kill it. Very good point there.
Correct.
But also the fact that you know about it doesn't mean you put in your production application.
So now we have the if. Now there is a specific moment before then the how that is convincing your manager that you have to move to a new technology.
To convince, you need to be able to explain to someone the benefits. If you cannot, then should you really invest in the technology? Let's take realistic examples. Data binding. Data binding. It was a controversial topic. I know a few people that like it, some people that hate it. But let's say that this never was fruitful, and it never became too mainstream, to be honest. So you want to go to your manager and you want to propose data binding.
Yeah, but the way the fact that you're making an example, I'm not a fan of data binding. Can we put another example? So, okay, I'm trying. Okay, you go and try, but I want to use, please, I really feel that there is a benefit for the company. But I'm trying because I'm an engineer.
You cannot. But you see, if you cannot convince yourself,
Yes.
you cannot convince your manager, then maybe it's another indication.
Yes.
This framework is not good. Also, it never became mainstream. It was
No.
always a niche.
Yes.
Whereas view binding, which was actually an improvement, was there to stay eventually. Now you can really vouch for view binding with confidence.
That makes sense. Let's make the example with the Kotlin.
Let's go Kotlin.
Like I said that you made me. We should move to Kotlin, and you tell me what's the benefit.
Exactly.
The benefit is that it's less error prone in the sense that, for example, if you have a data class, you are writing less code. It will be faster to produce an app in Kotlin.
I'm interested.
It's like an abstraction of Java, we can say Kotlin.
Ah,
It's an higher level.
okay. No risks. Interoperable with what we have.
It's interoperable.
No risk.
The null check
check.
build, for example, it's a safe language Kotlin.
So you see, if I was your manager, I would say, I'm interested. Because now I can translate what you're telling me into actual productivity. You're giving me the tools to sell it. Otherwise, if you don't,
Yes.
then what I think in the back of my head, this guy likes to play around with new stuff. I'm not convinced.
So we can put this in the if.
This is the if.
So in the if,
Let's go to the how.
convincing. Now how?
Okay. There are two strategies in general. There are two schools of thought. One is we go for a brand new project if the change is big enough and we start from scratch. So let's pick Compose. Let's rebuild the app totally in Compose. That's one way. And the other way is to go gradually. So you take the project that you have and you start going screen by screen, part by part. And for me that is the best in any case.
It's easy also because, for example, unless you don't have a project that stop for 1 year the new feature, it's hard to maintain two codes,
Exactly.
two base code.
Yes. And this is a good argument also if you want to refactor because your project is drowning in technical debt. Because sometimes the app is so badly written, I'm pretty sure many of you can relate to that there is this point of feeling that it cannot be saved. So you have this feeling in the back of your head, should I go with a clean project from scratch? Usually that's not the best way because as Pepe just said, just the fact that the old project will continue being alive, so new features will be added. Now you have two things to maintain, and by the time you reach the state of the old project when you started, now the old project is still miles ahead. And then how do you split the team? Who does which? Where's the knowledge? Like, let's say we take the first screen, but most important, it's a proof of concept. Let's say we want to put Compose. We put Compose into our splash first initial activity or screen on an application. What can go wrong?
You have to be also lucky that the new technology and the old technology that can coexist. So for example, if you have to move from coin to dagger to hilt, in that case you cannot do this because you have to from scratch.
If you have, let's say, created your dependency injection in a good way, in a proper way, it should be possible to change. If your object graph is created at a specific point, if you haven't messed up with your modules, if you haven't messed up with all the composition roots or whatever you're using, then it should be possible to safely change it. Might not be fast, but it should be safely done because you go with every point and you change it. At a huge application, it will take a long time. That's why when you're making a framework, you should be very careful.
Yes. And also another question. You didn't finish your migration to Kotlin, let's say, and you want to adapt
Yet another one.
Compose. You want to adapt Hilt, and you want to adapt, how do? You wait the first layer or you do a Frankenstein?
Welcome to Android. This is our life.
I was thinking also, now that you told me, if you, for example, let's say, I have a project in Java MVP. Then I wait, and here is a fact that Kotlin MVVM is a fact.
Mm-hmm.
And here is the Compose. If I lose this point, passing from MVP Java to Compose in Kotlin, missing this central point, will make the transition more difficult. So, waiting, yes, but not. It's always a trade-off. So we are in the starting point, but doesn't mean that
The
we
fact-
move. Yes, this is your quote. Say.
The fact that you are at the point that you were when you began doesn't mean that you did not move at all.
You didn't know when MVVM went out that you had, because you were safe with the MVP, doing well. People are using MVVM, you're asking yourself, why should I move to MVVM? Okay, I'll keep MVP again. Kotlin, okay, we'll adopt Kotlin because, of course, it's something that was standard. And then Compose appeared and force you to use MVVM, basically.
Acknowledging the fact that you are conscious about the fact that Android is out of your control, the new technology is out of your control, what you can do from your perspective, try to be the best architect you can be for your own stack, the side that you can control. And when the new technology actually comes and it becomes mainstream enough, be sure not to rush and to get it. Wait, balance it, and now when it's time to do it, it will hurt, but you should put it. There are not a lot of times it will happen, but surely they will come. So let's recap what we said. We talked about when to adopt a new technology. Our humble opinion is wait until it's mainstream enough that you cannot avoid it anymore. This is when to put it. But keep playing with new technology so that you are up to date, it's important. Then, how to do it? Step by step, don't try to recreate the whole project from scratch. Pick a screen, make a proof of concept, grow the confidence, then you can sell it to your managers, your higher ups, and then slowly it will become also becoming mainstream in your own project.
I think it's very important also what you said is using new technologies, do some small POC, play with those, because working makes you understand if it's worth it or not. So play a lot. New technology are done for playing. Play with Flutter, KMN, play with Compose, play with the latest technology, always. If you see something, use it. Try to play a bit with it.
Yes.
So don't lose the enthusiasm, feel always like a kid that is opening the gift during the Christmas day. Oh, Compose.
This is inspiring, man. This is really inspiring. And it's also inspiring how you like to always play with new stuff. Keep up to date. You are a role model for the Android community. Thank you, Pepe, for your service.
And the advocate of the new technology.
Let's go. And the last point before we wrap it up is be a good architect. Try to protect the application from future changes as much as your eye can see.
Like the NASA. Can you do the metaphor of the NASA? This is a good point.
NASA checks the night sky all the time for new stuff. Not all of them are there. I don't think this metaphor is good.
No, don't put it.
I will not put it. So, as always, thank you very much for watching. Very happy to make these videos. Pepe, it's a pleasure speaking with you, hearing your point of view. And we'll see you hopefully soon in the next one. Take care.
At least you will see us. To see you. Why, when, and how adopting new libraries and technologies. But the answer this time, I did it properly. Probably we can continue from this part.
Yes.
The question, wait again the question, I will repeat the question because this part is so, for example, when adopting a new library. I was thinking if, when, where, who.
But it was very correct.
It's when, but also if when. It's if and when, both. If adopting, when adopting, and now adopting. Okay, this is good.
So what is the topic, Pepe?
Today the topic is a topic that probably affected the developer that worked for more than 4 years, I would say, even 3 years.
So 4 years or 3. We need to be exact here, we're engineers. Can we be more specific, please?
Very difficult, you're right. I think that today's topic is affecting totally workers that are working. If you attend conferences, I suggest even after a while you think that you don't learn anymore something, but I think that it's still worth it.
This is a shot at me, that I'm not coming to conference anymore. Okay.